450,000 more 25 to 34-year-olds are living with their parents in the last 2 decades. More and more young adults are having to live with their parents because they can't afford to rent or buy a place in the UK.
But the interest that's going to be added to my student loan, because my student loan is ginormous, is going to be like £850 a month.
You probably haven't heard much about this, but there's a youth jobs crisis happening right now in the UK. And trust me, it's affecting way more people than you think.
How on earth did I just spend £3 on one of those Mr. Whippy ice creams from the ice cream van with a flake? £3. They used to be 99p.
Young people are being priced out of their own future. A sad reality for many in the UK, working harder than ever, but still falling behind. Let's hear what young folks are really going through right now.
Anyone I speak to these days, everyone's working 2 jobs. No one is working 1 job.
And
Everyone
that
I
as well is
speak
probably
to,
why we're so unhappy, because all we're doing is freaking working.
we're just working to pay bills. That's it. Like, half my wages goes on bills these days.
Get it?
And I'm just like, and even when I try to budget, guys, every month I try to budget and save and put down. I even cut back my maintenance. I've cut back how many times I do my maintenance just to make sure I have money at the end of the month. That doesn't work.
So where's the joy?
I'm still scrimping and scraping.
Do you see, where's the joy when you're now having to sacrifice your own self-care?
Joy is coming.
Hope is all you have.
More and more young people in their 20s and 30s are moving back in with their parents. While it offers a safety net, it also shows just how tough it's become to afford basic independence in today's UK.
450,000 more 25 to 34-year-olds are living with their parents in the last 2 decades. More and more young adults are having to live with their parents because they can't afford to rent or buy a place in the UK. And this isn't just confined to London. More and more big cities in the UK are becoming more and more expensive for young people as well. And a lot of times this can be seen as a benefit because it allows young people to save whilst they're living at home so they can build up their cash reserves and buy a property or rent a property. But I see this number getting bigger and bigger as the cost of living and the cost of housing soars through the roof. It's not uncommon nowadays to hear people in their late 30s or even 40s living at home because of the cost of living. But in this young population, what it does is it has a detrimental effect on the creation of families. 20 years ago, people were buying properties in their 20s, they were having kids in their 20s, they were getting married in their 20s. What a lot of people don't talk about is that living at home changes your life dynamics. A lot of people living at home can't bring a child into that home environment. And it's easier to meet someone when you have your own place. So what that does is it pushes back the marriage age. It pushes back the age at which people are having kids. And I know not everyone wants to have children, but the dynamic of the UK and the cities and the towns is changing due to this phenomenon. I personally think it's only going to get worse as the cost of living increases and more people are priced out of buying a property or renting a property. And unless rent caps are brought in, then it's going to become dystopia.
The youth jobs crisis is leaving many stuck, overqualified, underpaid, or unable to find stable work at all.
You probably haven't heard much about this, but there's a youth jobs crisis happening right now in the UK. And trust me, it's affecting way more people than you think. Remember when they used to say, work hard, get good grades, nail uni, and you'll land a good job? Yeah, it turns out that's kinda nonsense now. Right now, nearly 1 million young people like you and me, are either not in work, not in education, and not in training. Literally the highest it's been in over 10 years. That's 1 in 8 of us stuck, trying to find a job, a path, anything, yet getting nowhere. Since 2021, over 250,000 more young people have fallen into this situation. And it's not because they're lazy, it's because the system is broken. Businesses are hiring less, the economy is slow, mental health is getting worse, and support basically underfunded for years. The UK government says they're launching a youth guarantee this year. But even that might miss out nearly half the people that actually need it. But we're not the problem. The odds have been stacked against us. Right now, it's looking rough unless something changes.
This comment is abhorrent, by the way.
If you have minimum skills and therefore are on a minimum wage, you should expect average housing. You will have minimum standard housing, a small room in a shared house. That's not normal. That is not a regular expectation that anybody should have. If you are working full time, 37.5 hours a week, 30 hours a week, if you have children, if you are grafting, even if you're not, you could be doing the easiest job in the world, sitting behind a desk, sending 2 emails a day. If you're working, you should be able to afford a 1-bedroom flat. You can't expect 35-year-old men to share a house. A 26-year-old woman still living with her parents because the alternative is to go into shared accommodation. It's utterly wild and weird and strange to me that people genuinely have this mindset.
Housing affordability has completely locked young people out. Even full-time workers can't get close to owning, or sometimes even renting. Years of rising costs, low wage growth, and a lack of affordable housing got us here.
Here's another way young people are screwed in this country. Housing affordability in the UK has gone crazy. In 1995, the average house price was £51,529, with an average salary at the time of £15,096, a healthy ratio of 3.4. 10 years later, house prices had shot up to £143,912, a crazy 179% increase, with wages in that period rising 52% to £22,888, almost doubling the house price to income ratio to 6.3. By 2015, house prices had increased by another 27% to £182,291 on average. Wages grew 21% to £27,600, pushing the ratio up to 6.6. So what's the situation today? Even worse. The average house price as of January 2025 is £268,548, with the average salary standing at £37,430, giving a ratio of a crazy 7.2. So what happened? Why do you think housing is becoming so unaffordable these days? Let me know what you think can be done about it in the comments.
Here's something that boomers never ever mention when it comes to housing prices, and the fact that people like millennials and Gen Zs cannot buy houses. So back in their day, back in the good old days when they used to play in blitz sites, etc., and never wore shoes and all that, and it was all very nice, they had around, from 1950 to about 1980, it went up. The increase of university graduates in the country went up from about 3% up to 8% in the 80s, 8%. If you got one of these degrees, then you would be guaranteed a better job than other people in the population. But though this is a population that also could feed a family off one salary, and could buy a house off one salary, or rent a house off one salary. Now, about 13% of people in the UK of the ages between 25 and 30, 13% have master's degrees. And about 23% have bachelor's degrees. So you're looking at about 36% of the population of that age group, our age group, have either a bachelor's degree, like an undergrad degree, or a master's degree. And even with those degrees, even with master's degrees, you are not guaranteed a job that would allow you to get a house. So we've been sold this lie our whole lives that if we do well in school, we go to university, we make our families proud. I know for a fact that my generation are the first people in my entire family line that have gone to university to do a undergrad degree. And obviously my boomer grandparents and my silent generation grandparents were absolutely out of their mind ecstatic that we had this achievement and thought that would guarantee us a amazing life. And we didn't think that, but we thought it would guarantee us, at least being able to afford fucking rent. But now degrees mean nothing. So everyone has one. So we're all in a massive amount of debt, and it doesn't mean anything. I've got friends who've got master's degrees who work minimum wage jobs.
With UK student loan interest rates reaching over 7%, debt is becoming a lifelong burden instead of a stepping stone.
You know why I literally do not care about my student loan whatsoever is because right now I'm paying back £1.60 a month because I've just gone over the threshold because I had a little bit of a pay rise. But the interest that's going to be added to my student loan, because my student loan is ginormous, is going to be like £850 a month. Like, I'm never going to pay this back. Like, why people get so pressed about it, I don't know. Like, I'm literally not going to pay it back.
Do you know what's shit about shared accommodation? The fact that I go into my kitchen and I'm greeted by a sea of strangers.
And don't even get me started on the cleanliness of the accommodation, especially in the UK. People are so dirty. Sharing the kitchen with other people, complete strangers, by the way, is the worst thing that you could ever do to your mental health and your well-being. Like, imagine you go into the kitchen. I've seen things that I could never even imagine in my head, like I would never even dream of. And I've seen it here. I've seen it happening.
Young people are being urged to have more children by the Education Secretary, but with rent, childcare and daily costs so high, many are simply choosing to wait or opt out entirely.
Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary, has said that the UK's decline in birth rate is a concerning sign and it shows people's worries and concerns around starting a family. She urged Britons to have more kids if they wish, and ultimately the concerns that people have around mortgages, paying for childcare, things like that need to be addressed. Now, the UK has had a decline in birth rate and a slow birth rate for quite some time. I think it sits at around 1.4, which isn't the worst in the developed world, but definitely not enough to sustain the economy. We have an ageing population, which will be a concern in decades to come, as there won't be enough people of working age to pay for pensions of those older, and is why many people who are my age don't believe that they'll ever get a pension, because there won't be enough young people paying into the pot. That's essentially how it all works. A lot of pensioners seem to think that they pay into their own pension, which isn't what happened. It's just the young people at that time are paying for the pensioners. But if there's not enough young people, the pensioners won't get a pension. Is essentially how it will work. And so we have seen in other countries, like Japan, they have really been pushing young people to have kids. They've been providing incentives, financial incentives, but it hasn't worked. Whether this is a cultural thing of people not wanting kids or more the economics of it as well, it's not exactly clear, but it is a concern for many developed governments of developed economies, because of the long-term problems, as I say. So whether we see the government try to provide more incentives, don't know. We have seen them change childcare and things like that, and provide more free hours of childcare, but beyond that we haven't really seen too much. So whether there's kind of direct incentives, we'll have to wait and see.
Sorry, how did I just spend £35 on reduced food? I always come to Sainsbury's because they have really good options for the reduced. Got 2 for tonight and 2 for tomorrow night. But what? 35 quid! I don't have 35 quid. I actually hate my life. I can't believe I spent 35 quid. And then now we're gonna go spend another 60 quid on fuel. What size the fuel cap? But on a serious note, like, how are things so expensive? Like, how are people, like, I genuinely want to ask whoever's in charge of, like, just normal pay and then maternity pay, where they're getting the, you know, the cost of living from, because it is costing us to live a lot. And it's so stressful. My boyfriend literally works 5 days a week and he does 9 hours every day. You know, 9, 18, 27, 36, 45. It's 45 hours a week and maternity pay, and we still can't afford to live. Some people need speaking to.
Now this generation is facing a growing pile of crises: wage stagnation, housing costs, and even the looming threat of global conflict.
So let me get this straight. There is an employment crisis, a housing crisis, cost of living crisis, brink of war, a population crisis because no one's having kids anymore. I wonder why. And yet we need to stop eating avocados and work a little bit harder. I don't know anyone my age at this point that isn't exploring some kind of side hustle or investment. If you don't have an additional stream of income or investments and wealth accruing somewhere, it is not possible anymore to even participate in society in the way that we used to. Obviously, no one's having fucking kids. No one can afford anything. Now, in the UK, once you start earning over £125,000 a year, you make 29 pence. 29 pence on every pound you make after that point. Less than 1/3 on top of that you keep. And that's not including costs and bills. That's just taxed.
How on earth did I just spend £3 on one of those Mr. Whippy ice creams from the ice cream van with a flake? £3. They used to be 99p. Not even a whole Great British pound. I paid £3. That was almost as much as my parking for 3 hours. And to top it off, my friend said the other day that it was £3 just for the ice cream and you had to pay an extra £1 for the flake that was that big. What on earth is going on?
Working non-stop, barely getting by, and still can't afford a simple vacation. For many, leaving the UK feels like the only way to breathe.
Is anyone else fed up with this shitty country? Like, and the cost of living? The fuck is going on? I don't know anyone that isn't struggling at the moment, and it's actually a joke. It's a joke. Like, I work full time. I work 8 till 5, 5 days a week. I pick up weekend work and work in a bar. My boyfriend works full time, picks up weekend work, works in the evenings. Like, and yet we've got a week and a half left till payday, and I'm worried about how the fuck I'm going to feed us. Like, how are we going to feed ourselves? Sorry, what? I've just had to spend my last money choosing between feeding myself and my dogs. Obviously, I fed my dogs. Got them. Harringtons. What the fuck? Like, I just want to go and be able to, like, feed myself and not stress about it and, like, not worry about how I'm going to get to work. I already have put in to HR to work from home twice a week because I can't afford to drive to the office 5 days a week. Like, I rent a house that's only a 2-bedroom, small town, like, terrace house. I don't own my house. My car I've had for, like, 8 years. It's literally falling apart. It's done 200,000 miles. I can't afford to fix it. Like, this is going to go kaput on me soon. Then I'm well fucked. So what the fuck am I going to do then? Because HR aren't going to approve 5 days a week from home. Like, what the fuck is going on? I just want to do girly things and, like, get my fucking nails done. And I can't because I've got to, like, worry about getting a loaf of fucking bread and a pint of milk. And my dog food. Like, what am I doing wrong? I don't go on holiday. I've not been abroad for, like, 7 years. And even the last holiday I went on, my parents paid for it because it was like a family holiday when I was 21. I'm 28 now. I've not been abroad since. I haven't even been away for a weekend anywhere in, like, England because I can't afford to. Like, I don't know. Anyone else just fed up with it? Like, I want to move abroad now, but I can't move abroad because Muggins here can't afford a fucking flight abroad.
So, what do you think? Is this just a rough patch, or are things fundamentally broken for young people in the UK? Every generation's experience is different, but one thing's clear, the system isn't making it easy. If this hit home, give the video a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and drop a comment below.